Warning, the following program has been rated T for truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Oh, we think you can. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report with your host, truth warrior and mythbuster Katleen Wells. The place where we distinguish fact from fiction, where data is used to drive points home, and where Kathleen takes the position that Democrats and black politicians have destroyed black America. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report. Now, your host, Katleen Wells.
Am I on? Hi, welcome to the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Katleen Wells. It took me a while to get in this evening because why? The traffic. There's a brush fire in Glendale where the 134 and 2 freeway meet, and so in fact there are evacuation orders in effect. So it took me a while to get into the radio station this evening because of that brush fire, and it's actually appropriate, or rather relevant to what my topic is going to be today. I was going to talk about homelessness. Maxine Waters held a hearing August 14th on homelessness. And, you know, the usual suspects were on her panel and they were giving information. In fact, the hearing was held in Los Angeles and was aired on C-SPAN. And the usual suspects were in attendance giving their thoughts, opinions, information, data on homelessness. I'm going to go over that, but before I go over that, I want to, that's what the show is about today, is homelessness, sustainability. How sustainable is Los Angeles? How sustainable is California? She's bursting at the seams. Why? Those folks who were in the hearing didn't even discuss the issue of illegal aliens. They didn't even bring it up. What they talked about is affordability of housing, the need, the desire for more federal spending and more federal funds, But we're going to talk about that in a little while. But I want to go back and talk about the fact that, did you hear our new sponsor? I'm so excited. I'm so excited that we have a new sponsor, the Anti-Fragility Clinic. If you remember when we first, in January of 2018, we went to their grand opening, and quite a few Truth Warriors came out to that grand opening. So now they're back being a sponsor of the Naked Truth Report, and they're also going to be sponsoring the Town Hall, KRLA Town Hall, October 6th in Pasadena Convention Center. I hope I'm going to be there. I'm going to have a booth. They're going to have a booth. I hope many of you come out. It's going to be wonderful. Mark Levine is there. Mark Levine is going to be speaking, and on the panel, it's a panel discussion with Larry Elder and Sebastian Gorka and Dennis Prager, like last year. And so it's going to be wonderful, but it's a larger venue because remember last year, I was there last year. Last year we were at the Alex Theater on Brand Boulevard. But this one, we're anticipating a larger attendance from KRLA listeners. And, of course, I want my Truth Warriors to be there. I'd like to meet you. I'd be delighted to meet all Truth Warriors, as I did at the Anti-Fragility Clinic. So when they came out to meet at the grand opening. So also, if you mention, I really, 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 really support the Anti-Fragility Clinic. I had a body composition scan done. It's a good thing. This is a new approach to medicine, a new approach to health, as opposed to surgery and taking medicines. It's a new approach, and I encourage all my listeners to go down there, mention the Naked Truth Report, and you'll get a free body scan, which is a $250 value. You'll get a free body scan. I encourage all my listeners to go down there and check it out. Also, check out their website or their Facebook page, the Anti-Fragility Clinic. Okay, so we did that housekeeping. Now, what else was I going to say? I had some other things. Let me see. Do I have other things? I talked about the KRLA Town Hall coming up October 6th. Please get tickets because I'd love to meet my Truth Warriors. And so now we're going to get to the topic at hand. Oh, I wanted to mention the other thing. This is the third thing. Please become a Patreon member of my content. You can go to my website, thenakedtruthreport.com, and become a Patreon member. And that's supporting the content. And Patreons get additional additional fringe benefits like swag, merchandise for free, and also behind-the-scenes videos or behind-the-scenes footage. For instance, the last week in September, I'm going to go to Fairs, Hold Your Feet to the Fire event. It's September 25th and 26th in D.C., and it's 90 radio hosts who will be interviewing experts on immigration, experts such as Republican congresspersons and experts such as policy people, experts such as, sheriffs and folks at the border, people in ICE, people who, there are going to be a lot of people there talking about, a lot of people that I will be able to interview. And I've already secured an interview with Ann Coulter and Tom Tancredo. And I also asked for an interview. I haven't heard back yet for Michelle Malkin. And who else did I ask? Diamond and so. But I put a lot of requests out there. It's a 2-day event, and border agents will be there. I'm going to also interview an angel family. Angel families will be there. It's going to be a good thing. This will be my first time attending this event, and I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be chock full of participants and chock full of information. I'm going to pre-record those interviews and play them on the Naked Truth Report the following Sunday, because that's a Wednesday and Thursday. So the following Sunday I'll play those interviews, or at least I'll play one. I'll probably play the Ann Coulter one first, and then the following Sunday I'll play Tom Tancredo, or maybe I'll play, I don't know, depending how long the interviews are, maybe I'll play a portion, and then talk or whatever. I'll play it by ear. But anyway, that's going to be a good event. And if you become a Patreon member, you'll be able to, I'll take behind-the-scenes footage, and you'll get that footage, and you'll get other access to me via the Patreon page. So check that out. Go to the nakedtruthreport.com Facebook page, our website, and become a member. I'd appreciate it. It'd be a good thing. And you're showing your support for the content at the Naked Truth Report. So, as I said, the issue today is going to be homelessness. Why? Because I watched on C-SPAN a hearing that Maxine Waters gave on August 14th regarding homelessness. In fact, she has drafted a bill to combat homelessness in Los Angeles, right? And the usual suspects were there. Let me tell you a few of the names, because, in fact, I called one of them. In fact, I left messages with about a few of them because I wanted them to come on the show, because I was very disappointed. I wanted them to come on the show to talk about their point of view. And I left messages, and they didn't get back to me, but I did speak to one. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want, if he's listening to the show, I don't want them to, feel that I'm being negative or that I'm closed-minded. I want to stay open to what they're saying and what their point of view is, right? But I'll give you a few of the names of the participants at the hearing, which Maxine Waters held. She held it here in Los Angeles. So let's see. The Los Angeles County Social Services Department was there. Weingart Center, I think they're located on Skid Row, I'm not certain. Human Rights Center, Watts Labor Community Action Committee, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, and there were a few others, but those were the types of people that were there, those types of organizations and agencies that were actually present at the event. And for me, my point of view, and you know my point of view because you listen to my show, is that you cannot discuss homelessness. You cannot solve a problem if you can't recognize the problem. That's one thing. You cannot solve a problem if you can't recognize the problem. The other thing is that this issue of homelessness didn't start like yesterday. This has been decades in the making. And it happened, in fact, one woman, I think she was with the Human Rights Center or something like that. I don't see, there was an organization called the Human Rights Center, I think. One woman says, we were here 26 years ago talking about other issues like mass incarceration or police brutality or, the drug, something, I don't remember, but the usual ills that the left brings up. She says, we were here 26 years ago, and now, she was like, and now we have a new problem, homelessness. I mean, that is true. They never discussed illegal aliens. They talked about the fact that, in fact, Eric Garcetti even spoke at the end. After all the participants spoke, Eric Garcetti even spoke. They talked about the need for what? Affordable housing, right? They talked about the need to increase wages, you see. But they never brought up illegal aliens. They never brought up the fact, they didn't even bring up illegal aliens. They didn't bring up the fact that illegal aliens are the reasons why wages are suppressed. As we've had on the show, we had the building inspector, and he says 80-90% of the construction jobs are held by illegal aliens, as opposed to what the left, Democrats said, illegal aliens do jobs Americans don't want. Well, 80-90% of the jobs are held by illegal aliens, and these illegal aliens holding these construction jobs are suppressing wages. They don't just have construction jobs, they have all the other trade jobs too. But this is a good example, construction jobs, because we know American citizens want construction jobs, do they not? Of course they do. In fact, construction work used to be the way to the middle class for American workers. So we know that illegal aliens suppress wages. So maybe if we didn't have so many, Los Angeles is like the epicenter. Is that the word I want to use? Is like the capital of illegal aliens. And Los Angeles is the capital or the epicenter for homelessness. Do you see what I'm saying? They're interrelated, okay? They're interconnected, but for some reason, Maxine Waters and her gang, and she's drafting a bill, can't make that connection, cannot connect those dots. Not only did they talk about the need for affordable housing and the need to have higher wages, but they also talked about the need for the federal government to give them more money so they can spend more money. See, it's the same old thing that we've been talking about for years, for decades. Just the same old, and it's useless. It's utter useless. And the idea that people think that they're solving problems. If you talk about homelessness and don't discuss illegal aliens and don't discuss the fact that Los Angeles is like the capital of illegal aliens and homelessness, and they're interrelated and interconnected because you have with illegal aliens, you have 3 and 4 families living in one house. And Terry Anderson talked about that in the 90s. You have 3 or 4 families living in one house. You have 3 or 4 families making a bid on one house. And this is boxing American citizens out of the economy, out of the housing market. It's not about affordable housing. It's about, get these 1.4 million. And something I read something that says that there's even more than 1.4 million. We don't know the numbers. Somebody's playing a game on the American people. We don't know anything definitively about the numbers of illegal aliens in the country. We don't know. We can't trust the numbers. We don't know. But we know that at least the Pew Research Center say that there's at least 104 million illegal aliens in Los Angeles. So if we have 104 million illegal aliens out of Los Angeles, that will have a direct impact on jobs for American citizens. Things will change. That will have a direct impact on the homelessness. Some of these homeless folks could actually go down to a construction site and sling a hammer or use a nail, hammer a device. They could work, in other words. They could get a job working on construction sites. This was decades in the making. And the other thing is that all of these agencies that I mentioned and that were at the hearing, the Weingart Center, the Los Angeles County Social Service Department, the Human Rights Center. The woman with the Human Rights Center said, I was here 26 years ago, and we were having this problem back then. Not homelessness. She mentioned other problems, like maybe police brutality. I can't remember. But the issue is this. You guys are just about solving problems. You never solve any. You don't solve any problems. It's just going around. Would you call these bureaucrats? They're just going around doing the same thing over and over. They're just going through the motions. They're not solving anything. Nothing gets solved. So the Human Rights Center, Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, they never discuss illegal aliens because it's not politically correct to discuss illegal aliens. So therefore, they cannot recognize the problem. They don't recognize the problem. The problem is illegal aliens, and therefore they'll never solve it. And therefore they're spinning their wheels. And therefore it's useless. And therefore it's spending tax dollars on BS. It's meaningless. They're going nowhere fast. Another thing that I want to talk about is the fact that I saw a post on Facebook, and it's like Democrats, the left, use hyperbole, exaggeration for everything. They don't know anything about proportionality or perspective or context. Everything is like exaggerated. I think the post was something to the effect that, and this person was on CNN. It was something to the effect that, Trump has killed more millions than Hitler, Stalin. You know what I'm saying? And then, it's so absurd. It's like you cannot even discuss things rationally with these people on the left. Trump has killed more millions than Hitler and Stalin and Mussolini or something like that. It was some outrageous claim. And I think some of these people, in fact, when I listened to Washington Journal and the callers call in, they had the callers call in for Democrats only this morning, and they don't articulate an argument. I remember when I went to law school, I have to confess, I didn't really know when I went to law school, the first year. It took me a while to figure out what an issue was. That when you go to law school, I think they have you to, when you do legal research and writing, they have IRAC. So the first thing, issue, research, analysis, and conclusion. So the first thing you have to put when you're writing your paper is the issue. What is the issue? So they would you would read all these, you would read something, and then you would have to pull the issue out of that reading, like you'd read case law, and you would have to pull the issue out of that case law and put it at the top, and then do the research, or rather the what supports that issue, and then the analysis, weaving in the facts with the law, weave that in together and make a conclusion. So when I first went to law school, the first year, that's the first semester you take legal research and writing. So my first semester, I think I had a difficult time pulling out issues. Well, now years later, 100 years later, of course, I can immediately identify an issue. But I think that so that says to me that, school matters. Education matters. Developing skills matter, yes. So a lot of times when you're talking to people, they really don't understand what you're saying. When you say, well, that's not really the issue, they don't get what you mean. They don't know, they don't even know what an issue is. So one of the things that Mark Levin said recently, I was listening to him, and he said that the left, Democrats, the media, never talk about the benefits of capitalism. I think this is true. They always bemoan capitalism. They always talk about the bad things about capitalism, but they never talk about the beneficial things of capitalism. And I was reading an article today in FEE.org, which is, what is it called? It's Foundation for Economic Education, FEE. Foundation for Economic Education.org. And the article is entitled, Africa Doesn't Need More Development Aid, It Needs More Capitalism. You see. Now, this is the thing. I think when you want to be able to, I think it's important to see both sides of every issue. So when you're discussing the benefits of socialism, you should also to be able to know everything about capitalism too, right? You should be able to discuss socialism fully, or know about socialism fully, and know about capitalism fully. Historically, no data. And then you can weigh them both against each other and come to a proper analysis. But the left never talks about the benefits of capitalism. In fact, I just watched a video on how in 40 years in Xinjiang, China, they have gone from farmland, 40 years from being an agrarian culture to now like a huge manufacturing capitalistic, this is in Xinjiang, China, which is right on the coast near Hong Kong. They have gone from being like only in 40 years, in the span of 40 years, they were agrarian, and now they're like this huge manufacturing base and big techno. In fact, they said that they were going to be taking on Silicon Valley. They've grown so rapidly. So what China has done, they've opened up the culture to free markets and private property, you see. And so this article compares what is being done in Africa with what is being done in China. In fact, Africa didn't go the route of free markets and capitalism. Maybe now you're beginning to see that kind of development with individual business persons. But generally, that has not been the way that most of the African countries have gone right after they shed the strings of colonialism. They didn't go the way of free markets as China did, you see. And this is why they have not. This is the argument that this article makes. And they use they have data points to make that argument, you see. Anyway, there's my music. We're going to take a break, and when we come back from the break, we'll open up the phone lines. Let's talk about Maxine Waters' hearing on homelessness, and let's talk about the benefits of capitalism. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. On yet? Oh, welcome back. There's the Naked Truth Report. I'm your host, Katleen Wells. And, I want to make a connection between homelessness in Los Angeles and giving more money to that, getting more federal funding and more spending, and how economic aid and not free markets capitalism has not been beneficial to Africa. Do you see the connection? In other words, they're the same things running on parallel tracks. Africa did not embrace, most of the African countries after colonialism did not embrace free trade, free markets, private property capitalism. They got aid from rich countries. And their lot generally has not improved. I'm going to read bits of this article, before I mention, and we can connect that to homelessness in Los Angeles. No, not yet. I don't want to play the clip yet. But before we want to give more money to homelessness. We don't want, it's that expression, teach a man to fish, not give him a fish, right? So anyway, this article is called Africa Doesn't Need More Development Aid, It Needs More Capitalism. And I'm going to read it. It's in FEE.org. In 1990, I'll read a portion. I'm not going to read the whole article. In 1990, the UN made a commitment to reduce global poverty by 50% within 25 years. That this ambitious goal has been achieved is largely due to China's success. Within the same period, the percentage of the population living below the poverty line decreased from 56.8% to 42.7% across the continent of Africa. However, with 20% of Africans living under the specter of starvation, a higher percentage than anywhere else in the world, there is still a long way to go. And the situation has not improved in recent years. In fact, it has deteriorated, especially in Africa. The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World report for 2019 was jointly published by several UN organizations. And this is in 2019, T West, okay? And confirms a rise in the world hunger for a third year in a row. It is now estimated that there are 821 million chronically undernourished people in the world. In the period up to 2015, this number has been in decline. It has now climbed back up to the levels last seen in 2011. Compared to 2017, the proportion of malnourished people, 20%, has increased in almost all regions of Africa. The worst hit regions are East Africa, where almost 31% of the population suffer from malnutrition, and Central Africa, where the figure is 26.5%. So they ask the question, does development aid really help? As soon as the above figures were published, demands for increased development aid, just like homelessness in Los Angeles, the people that attended the agencies, the organizations that attended Maxine Waters' hearing August 14th, said they need more funding, more money, as if LBJ didn't spend $3.2 trillion in the 60s to combat poverty, correct? But they need more money. You see the parallel here? So it says it constitutes, development aid has a nice moral ring to it. Morally, it's a feel-good thing. It sounds nice. And in some people's view, it constitutes a kind of quasi-religious atonement for the sins of colonialism and the exploitation of the third world by capitalist countries. But does it really achieve what its proponents hope it will? And in other words, when you do things, you want to do things to win. When you do things, you want to do things to achieve a goal. You don't want to just be doing them to make you feel good. You want to win. You want to solve problems. Otherwise, why bother, right? So, in 2002, the then Senegalese president, Abdoulaye Wade, said, "I've never seen a country develop itself through aid or credit. Countries that have developed in Europe, America, Japan, Asian countries like Taiwan, Korea, Singapore have all believed in free markets. There is no mystery there. Africa took the wrong road after independence." That's a quote from the Senegalese president in 2002. In Asia, the fight against poverty and hunger has been so effective because so many Asian countries have implemented capitalist reforms. In China alone, thanks to the partial introduction of private property rights and free market economies, the proportion of people living in extreme poverty has fallen from 88% in 1981 to below 1% today. Asian countries have received much less development aid than African countries. Zambian-born Dabisa Moyo, who studied at Harvard and earned a PhD from Oxford, identifies Western development aid as one of the reasons for the failure to rid Africa of poverty. This is his quote. "In the past 50 years, over $1 trillion in development aid has been transferred from rich countries to Africa." Moya points out in her book, Dead Aid, but has more than $1 trillion in development assistance over the last several decades made Africa better off. No, in fact, across the globe, the recipients of this aid are worse off, much worse off. Aid has helped make the poor poorer and growth slower. The notion that aid can alleviate systematic poverty has done so is a myth. Millions in Africa are poorer today because of aid. Misery and poverty have not ended but have increased. Aid has been and continues to be an unmitigated political and economic and humanitarian disaster for most parts of the developing world. This is a quote from a Zambian-born PhD. She has studied this, T. West. I'm speaking to someone on my Facebook page who is criticizing me for suggesting that paraphrasing this article on my Facebook page. He criticized me. This is a study, okay? Data, not opinion. It is based upon data. It is based upon hard facts. To be clear, Moya's criticism is not directed against ad hoc famine and disaster relief, but against long-term financial transfers aimed at boosting economic development. These funds have frequently ended up in the hands of corrupt despots rather than those of the poor. I'm going to end there and just say we can make a comparison to homelessness in Los Angeles, them begging, or Maxine Waters drafting a bill for more funding. We can see a parallel to the development in Africa. Putting a Band-Aid on cancer. It doesn't solve the problem. It makes matters worse. These folks couldn't foresee homelessness being exacerbated how long has Maxine Waters been in office? Decades. She didn't foresee this happening. You talk about homelessness and all you ask for is more funding. You don't talk about the fact that, maybe some of these construction jobs should be held by illegal aliens who are down there. Maybe some of these construction jobs should be held by American citizens who are down there on Skid Row. That's not a possible alternative way of solving homelessness. Give some of those guys down on Skid Row a job in the construction industry. That's not an option. You cannot solve a problem if you cannot identify it. You are spinning your wheels. You will never solve problems if you want to be politically correct. Because if you have to be politically correct, some people may get their feelings hurt, but so what? The truth is what sets you free, not lies. So these people having a hearing at Maxine Waters, hearing all the usual suspects. These people get their salaries and they've been going down there probably talking about this issue and other issues for decades, for years, for decades. And they never solve anything. It's just spinning their wheels. They all get, I called one of the guys and he's like bragging, I can't criticize Maxine because I'm getting like $17 million to build this, that, and the other shelter. You see what I'm saying? Anyway, we're going to take a call now from Brett in LA. Hi, Brett. This is the Naked Truth. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Hello, Kathleen. I'm so glad you're bringing up this issue, and this just enrages me. The mass murder of Africans in the millions it can be put at the feet of progressive predators and satanic socialists and the Democratic Party. Just because the time is short, I just had some bullet points. First of all, nobody seems to be talking about the 9 million slaves throughout Africa today. That we talk about the slavery 200 years ago in America, but nobody is talking about the slavery in Africa that exists now. The millions of people that died from malaria because the environmental fascists won't allow the spraying of DDT. They want to limit gasoline for the environment and use solar power, so they don't have the energy to take themselves into the 21st century now. The black Christian genocides in Nigeria, the issues of Sudan and Congo and Rwanda, it goes on, and I really think you're doing a great service by bringing this issue up, and I hope you'll just keep blasting it.
Okay, yeah. I can see the parallels with Los Angeles. The homelessness crisis in Los Angeles. These problems never get solved.
But at least there are some Republicans and some conservatives and some people of sanity to be a counterbalance. But in Africa, who do they have? Europe and the Democrats are absolutely straitjacketing any possibility for development.
Yeah, they embrace, this article mentions that after colonialism, after their independence, most of the African countries pursued socialism.
Yeah, that did a lot of good.
And it does no good.
So socialism is slavery. We have to get it through. It sounds so sweet, social. Why don't they call it what it is? It's tyranny. It's communism. It's mass murder. It always has been and always will be.
Thank you, Bray, for calling in. I hope to see you at the, what is it called?
Pasadena?
Yeah, the town hall.
I plan on being there. Hope to see you there.
Yeah, I hope to see you at the town hall. And check out the Anti-Fragility Clinic. Check out, this is my new sponsor. Check out their Facebook page and call and get your free body scan too, okay? Okay, we lost Brett. Okay, now is that Ida? Hi, Ida in San Fernando Valley. Welcome to the Naked Truth Report.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big fan. I just wanted to tell you and your listeners there's a documentary about exactly what you're talking about called Poverty, Inc. It's on Netflix. And it shows how a lot of young people in Africa and in Haiti are actually fighting back because all of this free aid has destroyed farming, all the free rice that they get. It's even destroyed local shoemakers because they get truckloads of free shoes, and it puts shoemakers out of business. And there are young people in Haiti who are trying to start solar companies that want all of these free solar panels that are coming to Haiti to go away because it's destroying their business. And it's also creating a generation of welfare dependence. So younger people, why would they want to work on a farm when they can go down the street and get tons of free aid? It's a fascinating documentary. It won a bunch of awards. It's called Poverty, Inc. on Netflix. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, beautiful. Poverty, Inc. on Netflix. Yes, I encourage people. I'm going to watch it. I encourage people to watch it. And I'm going to talk to T. West. I'm talking to you specifically on my Facebook page. He does not deal with, you're on my Facebook page, T. West. I don't know if you're listening, but maybe I'll send you this video, my radio show after the show. I'm going to send it to you because you criticize me for telling the truth. You don't know the truth, T. West. You're in some kind of, everyone deals with reality. You're in some kind of fantasy or romanticized notion about Africa, and that's not good enough. Anyway, let me take the next. Go ahead, Ida. Go ahead.
What they also showed in the documentary is that these companies that donate, they get huge government contracts. They get a lot of money to do this. It's not just some charity like a local church. They get billions upon billions of dollars to do this.
Right.
So they don't want to leave Africa or Haiti.
Right.
They make so much money with government contracts.
Yeah, it's a racket. Just like with the homeless, it's a racket. Just like the homelessness here, those agencies that I listed, the agencies that were in the hearing with Maxine Waters, they get money to talk about how they're going to solve homelessness, and they never solve it.
Business.
It's a business.
You have to see this documentary. It's riveting.
I'll see it. Thank you very much, Ida. And thanks for being a truth warrior. And don't forget to come to the town hall in Pasadena and check out the Anti-Fragility Clinic. Call them and get your free body scan. Okay, Ida.
Thank you so much.
And now we're going to go to Carlos in Carson. Hi, welcome to the Naked Truth Report, Carlos.
Yeah, good evening. Well, massive lending has not only destroyed Africa, it's also destroying Latin America. The International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, which are branches of the U.S. Treasury, have been forcing predatory loans on all these Central American countries and South American countries. The end result, it has destroyed, ravaged the economy of most of these countries, and that's one of the reasons, among others, why there's a lot of people coming in here into the United States. And you're right, they're forcing a compression of wages, but it's part of a deliberate script that favors the 1%.
Right.
They get cheap labor here, and they also control the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which is destroying all these countries' economies. So we got to point the finger. You said we got to. If you identify the problem, then we solve the problem.
Right.
Identification is these lending institutions which are affiliated with our own government. See, we got to have courageous Congress people and politicians that point the finger at our government. But what's the problem? We don't have any courageous people that are daring to point the finger at the specific source. Our government is causing massive illegal immigration by its policies, not only through lending, but it also through coup d'etats, which they did in Honduras, for instance, where Hillary Clinton and John McCain and the Central Intelligence Agency were sending money to ouster Zelaya 10 years ago, and from there on, their country has really gone to the dogs. The same thing with the war we had in El Salvador. Our CIA was involved, and what happened? Millions, thousands and thousands of Salvadorians came in here. See, it's part of a globalist script. to cause all these uprooting of masses, not only here in Central America or Africa, also in the Middle East. The same wars that we're sponsoring in the Middle East is part of the same globalist script that's controlled by Big Brother, the 1%, and its globalization. The whole thing is about globalization and compression of wages and having a slave labor society.
Well, no, but I think, I hear what you're saying. But see, I'm saying that there are benefits to capitalism, and we never discuss them. We never discuss the capitalism. You see how China has grown, okay? Has developed. They've reduced their poverty from, it was in 1980 or something like that. It was at 88%. Their poverty level now is down to 1% because they open up free markets. You see?
Yes, I agree with you. Capitalism works when there is a truly free market economy. But these banking institutions are not part of that. They're monopolies. They're the ones that amass great concentrations of wealth. They are truly super capitalists. They are not part of the free market economy.
Well, Well, I hear what you're saying, Carlos, but I'm focusing on the fact that I'm trying to make a relationship between homelessness in Los Angeles and underdevelopment and poverty in Africa. I'm making that connection. You see, there is a connection between, you see, we want to just give more money. You can't solve a problem if you can't recognize it. And illegal aliens suppress wages. Let's deal with one thing at a time. We cannot have illegal aliens in the country. We cannot get a grip of our economy if we have we cannot get a handle on our economy if we have illegal aliens in Los Angeles by the millions. Because some of these homes...
but they're not going to stop coming if we keep forcing predatory loans to the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, which are part of our government.
Well, I don't know if Trump is forcing, maybe that's the IMF or whatever, but Trump is not involved in that. Trump is, Latin America needs to take on their own problems. Americans are not responsible for Latin America. Americans are not responsible for Africa. We are responsible for America. We have to deal with our country.
The International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are under the auspices of our government. And Trump knows that. But he should be able to say, stop these predatory loans. But he doesn't do it. Well, it's also controlled by the...
Well, you know what? This is the thing. The Latin American countries don't have to take those loans. No one is putting a gun to their head to make them take their loans. How, they have to...
When you offer a politician millions of dollars to take those loans, the president... Saca of El Salvador, the Mexican president, all these presidents. I know the president of Ecuador he used to be married to my sister. He took millions of dollars from the international money.
Well, that goes into corruption. But anyway, thanks, Carlos, for calling. We're out of time. Thanks for calling into the Naked Truth Report. Please, please, please go to my website, thenakedtruthreport.com, and become a Patreon member. Support this content. You can get $5, become a Patreon member. You can get $5 or whatever. And also, don't forget to check out the the Anti-Fragility Clinic. Check out their website. Also, join their Facebook page and call them and get your free body scan. And if you mention the Naked Truth Report.